shoulder, and I saw this dark figure, probably about 40 metres away or so, climbing down a tree. And I didn't know what it was until I got everyone else's attention to look at it. And we all turned to our right and saw this great, big, hairy beast climbing down a tree. It was pretty fairly tall, probably over 6 foot, looked very tall, climbing down a tree, and we didn't know what to think. So we just looked at each other for a split second, and then we decided to run. So we ran down the mountain for about 10 metres or so, and we turned around, and it was still there, just staring at us, and we ran a bit further down the mountain. We turned around again, it was gone, it just vanished. And so all 4 of us saw it. That's basically what we saw.
Was this a private property, or was it like a camping area or something?
It was a camping area, but the only problem was there was no one within Yowie. They all left like the day before. We were on our second night and everyone had left.
Mm.
And no one lived near it, and it didn't resemble a human being. It was quite obvious it wasn't human.
The area, was it like a forested area? Was it low bush, or was it thick kind of forest, or?
Just, the typical, as you walk up, the side of a mountain, like going up a ridge of the bush.
Just sort of reasonably open,
it was
scrubby, well, yeah, slightly scrubby, but kind of big trees all around and stuff?
Trees and rocks and stuff,
Yeah, so it was kind of not really hard to move through, just trees and shrubs and stuff. Yeah. And this thing, was it? It was okay. You were looking at goats and stuff, but this thing was to your right. Like, was it the same level as you?
Yes, it was. It was pretty much directly, maybe a bit above us, but it could easily see us. We could easily see it.
So there wasn't many trees between you and it?
No. Oh, there was, but we could see it. Not only small trees, and it was up a fairly thick tree. All we saw was it stepped down, like as if it was up there, looking for, grubs or whatever they do up in the trees.
Mm. When you say it climbed down the tree, how did it climb down the tree? Did it climb down like a person would, or did it look more like an animal? Or tell me how it sort of climbed.
Back leg hit the ground first.
It's what, sorry?
Kind of stepped down out of the tree, like its back foot would have hit the ground first, 1 foot. All we saw was it stepped down out of a tree, facing the tree it was. So it kind of stepped down backwards, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, how wide? Was the tree really wide or quite narrow?
Oh, it was wide. It was probably an average sized tree, like not heaps thick, probably be about, I don't know, thick.
Was it as thick as the animal or thinner or?
A lot thinner than the beast.
So was it on a branch when you saw it, or was it actually coming down the tree when you saw it?
Coming down the tree. Yeah, and we didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
We looked at it for long enough to realise that it was looking at us, and it definitely wasn't human.
Okay, so it got down to the bottom. You were looking at it, and your friends were probably looking the other direction.
Yeah.
What did it do as soon as it hit the ground?
Hit the ground, had a look at the tree, I think. Had a look around like the tree, and then it, it was just scoping the air, and then it just spotted us like that.
Mm.
Like spotted us, and then it was just standing there staring at us. And it slowly creeped down, I think, near the tree, like, what's that? And by that time, all 4 of us were looking at it, not quite knowing what to make of it.
So when you say, would it crouch down, or it...
Kind of, when you see something that you quite don't know what it means, like, know what it is, and you'll kind of duck down, like, what's that? And, it seemed quite frightened at first, but then, after it noticed what it was, what we were, it stood straight back up again. So it wasn't threatened by us at all, by the looks of it.
Okay, so you're looking at it, it comes down the tree. What did you say to your friends?
I said, well, be honest, I said, what the hell was that? And they go, what are you talking about? And I go, look. And they saw it, and they were frozen, They didn't know what to do, and then we just went, what do we want to do? And then one of us said, run.
And it was still looking at you at this time?
Staring. Didn't look away at all, it was just staring at us.
Okay, now you said you thought it was bigger than you thought it was as big as an average man. I mean,
Oh, for sure. Ginormous, and we're small, and when you're little, things look bigger, but this just looked, like Reese's dad was fairly tall, like 6 foot, and it looked much taller than him from a distance. It was quite muscular, it was quite, wide and stuff in width, and it looked well built. You know what I mean?
Was it a hairy thing?
Yes, it was. It was a dark brown. I would say, almost black, sort of.
Okay, and this hair, was it smooth like a dog or shaggy like a goat?
Well, it was from a distance, and I can't really picture it, but I know it was probably like dog fur, I'd say.
Okay, you mentioned it was a reasonable distance away, or was it quite close?
It was probably about 40 metres away, roughly.
Okay, and was it covered with hair all over?
Yes, it was. Except for the face, I think there was a bit around its eyes that was just, like features, if I can remember. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But it didn't cover its entire face, that's all I remember. But apart from its body, it was hairy all over.
You said it looked fairly muscular?
Yeah, it was well built.
Was it thin and narrow, sort of lanky looking, or more sort of chunky, well built?
Well, I personally think it wasn't thin and lanky. I thought it was tall and built like a brick. It was it was big. And
yeah.
if this thing would have got a hold of us,
Yeah. How sort of wide would you say it was? Was it kind of, did it look just like a person of that height, or was it wider than a person of that height?
If bodybuilders, wrestlers and stuff like that,
yeah,
big muscles like that, it was very big. Like, I don't know, it was it didn't look muscly, it just looked like a, you know what I mean, like
big
built, I don't know, because it had hair all over it, but it was very wide.
When you were looking at it, did you think, I'm looking at a person, or I'm looking at an animal?
Well, at first I thought, what's this man climbing down a tree for? And when I had my second glimpse at it and focused in on it, like, it was pretty obvious that it wasn't a man, because I've never seen a man looking like that before.
Did it remind you of any animal you'd seen before? Did it remind you of
No.
Of anything?
Oh, well, you could say a gorilla, but there's no gorillas.
You say that because it just generally looked like or did it really look like a gorilla, or sort of not really? I mean, you're probably familiar with gorillas.
Yeah, I know. It didn't look like a gorilla suit or anything, because I've seen, like on the internet, people trying to fake photos like that. It didn't look like a gorilla suit. It looked unusual. Like, you couldn't buy this type of suit or anything. It was...
What did the face look like? Did you see any features? I mean, you mentioned it was looking at you, sort of... it was looking directly at you. Did you get a sense of a face? Was there any sort of features?
Only thing I could possibly say, I couldn't see its mouth or nose. I could just remember the eyes.
And what were they? Or did you saw eyes? You can't remember specifics, or?
Because it wasn't dark, so we couldn't see, the red. I just remember it had fairly, like, big eyes. You know what I mean? They just didn't lose sight of all four of us. Like, it was just staring right at us the whole time.
Did you noticed arms, or when it was coming down the tree?
Yeah. When it was holding onto the tree at first, climbing down it like a, I'd probably say, I didn't really see it do it, but when it jumped off, it looked like it was climbing down like a, when people climb trees, get coconuts, is what it looked like. And then, it let go with its arms and pushed off with its front leg and landed on like 1 foot on the ground. That's what we saw.
Okay, that's interesting. So you were saying it was like hugging the tree when it was on it?
Yeah, I think so. Because it was up at not a distance, but it was like further than a jumping distance, you know what I mean? It had to climb to get where it was going. So for all I know, it could have been a bit higher, but we didn't get to see it.
But you did see it sort of push off the branch a bit and land on its feet?
Yeah, on 1 foot and then put the other foot on the ground. So it didn't land on both feet when he jumped. It's just the 1 foot, you know what I mean?
Oh, just sort of jump back on the 1 foot and then balance back on the front foot? Or, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And then it sort of looked around and turned around?
Yeah, it looked around, had a look at the tree and for a second, and then looked around, and then, it just spotted us straight away, and then just went, like, stood still, ducked down like it was curious. And then when it realised that, whatever it realised, like, we weren't no threat or anything, because we were quite small back then, and it just stood up straight away. It was just staring at us.
So you told me, so the arms, it was a big animal, sort of solid. Tell me about the head. Was it a pointy head or a round head?
I know that some people say they're pointy, but I would probably say it was more of a round, big head. There wasn't a small head on its body, it was big.
Did you see a long neck or a short neck?
An average neck, not long, not short, but just a sort of like a human neck, but really thick. You know what I mean?
Okay, so when you were looking at it, you sort of turned around and your friend said run, so you ran a short distance and then turned around again?
I was still there staring.
So you went, what, you actually ran down the slope and then turned around and looked back up again?
Lachlan, another boy, hurt his ankle while going that quick, you know, it was just the adrenaline, we were just sprinting, and then we stopped again, and we're probably, 100 metres or a bit further from it, and, we couldn't really see that well through some trees, but we knew it was gone. It probably quick, I don't know, but it was gone.
Can you get a sense of how much this thing might have weighed?
I play football, and some of the monsters in my team weighed probably about 115 kilos, and it would have weighed a lot more than that.
Did you get a sense that someone was playing a prank on you? Could it have been a guy in a suit? You mentioned you don't think so, but was there any way it could have been?
Well, I wouldn't really think that a guy in a suit would come out like that many kilometres with no cars inside, because we were riding motorbikes earlier on that day, little Pee-wee 50s and 80s, and like little 80s, and we rode up like halfway up the track for like a couple of Ks, and there was no cars, and in the other two cabins were empty, and I don't think there's no houses in sight, and I don't think anyone would have been playing a prank.